If you're a veteran or you love someone who served, there's something happening in Washington right now that could change how VA benefits work for years to come. Congress has been debating a massive package of veterans legislation, and depending on who you ask, it's either the biggest benefits expansion in a generation or a trade-off that could quietly reduce compensation for future veterans. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly what's confirmed, what's still just a proposal, and what's already been separated out as fact from rumor. You'll learn what this bill actually contains, who stands to gain the most, and one detail buried in the fine print that even some veteran service organizations are fighting over. And stick around, because near the end, I'll share the one practical step that protects you no matter which way this legislation goes. It's called the Take Care of America's Veterans Act, and it isn't one single idea. It's more like a legislative bundle, over 60 separate bills that have been stitched together into one massive package. Some of these individual bills have been sitting around for years, unable to get a floor vote on their own. By combining them, lawmakers hoped to get more done at once. The bill has bipartisan sponsorship, and it covers a lot of ground, from disability compensation to survivor benefits, to how the VA runs its healthcare system day to day. If you're a military retiree with a combat-related disability, but you served fewer than 20 years, current law can force you to give up part of your retirement pay in order to receive your disability compensation. This provision would end that trade-off for a specific group of retirees, letting them receive both payments in full. Veterans groups have pushed for this for years, and it's one of the reasons so many organizations, including some of the largest in the country, are backing the overall package despite disagreeing with other parts of it. The bill also touches survivor benefits. It would extend certain benefits and services to remarried surviving spouses who currently lose eligibility when they remarry. It increases dependency and indemnity compensation rates, and it expands eligibility for memorial headstones and markers to more family members. There are also changes aimed at VA education benefits, including how independent study programs are treated and increased housing allowances for people in apprenticeship programs. This is not a narrow bill. It reaches into corners of the VA system that most people never think about until they need them. To help offset the cost of all these new benefits, part of the package includes changes to how future disability ratings would be calculated for two specific conditions: tinnitus and sleep apnea treated with a CPAP machine. Critics say this could reduce future compensation for potentially over 1 million veterans down the road, with independent estimates putting the long-term savings in the tens of billions of dollars. Some veterans organizations have publicly condemned this piece, arguing that Congress shouldn't fund new benefits by trimming future ones. Others, including groups like the American Legion and the Wounded Warrior Project, have come out in support of the overall package anyway, arguing it's a net expansion of benefits with protections built in for people already receiving compensation. That disagreement between respected veterans organizations is worth sitting with for a second, because it tells you this isn't a simple story of good guys and bad guys. It's a genuine debate about trade-offs. Before we go further, if you're finding this breakdown useful, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. I cover developments like this regularly, without the hype, so you're not left guessing what's fact and what's noise. This bill has not passed. In mid-July, House leadership pulled it from the floor just minutes before a final vote, after a motion to send it back to committee failed by a single vote. That's about as close as it gets without actually happening. The Speaker indicated it likely wouldn't come back up for weeks. Meanwhile, the Senate version of the bill is still moving forward on its own track, with senators planning to bring it up for a vote. So right now, this is very much a live, ongoing debate, not a done deal. Nothing in this bill has become law, and no existing veterans' benefits have been reduced because of it. That last point matters more than almost anything else I'm telling you today, so let me be direct about it. If you've seen posts online claiming VA disability benefits are frozen, capped, or being cut right now, that is not accurate. Every eligible veteran received a cost of living increase to their compensation at the end of last year, and current law still guarantees disability compensation based on your rating. Congress would have to pass and enact new legislation to change that, and as of today, that hasn't happened. A lot of the anxiety floating around online comes from people conflating actual bills moving through Congress with separate political proposals that never got anywhere. It's also worth knowing that this big package is separate from the routine annual process that adjusts VA compensation rates for inflation each year. That yearly cost of living adjustment bill moves through Congress almost every year like clockwork and isn't tied to the fate of this larger reform package. So even if the bigger bill stalls out entirely, that doesn't mean your annual increase disappears with it. Keeping these two things separate in your mind will save you a lot of unnecessary worry. Now, here's something a lot of coverage has glossed over, and it's the part I promised to save for later because I think it's genuinely the most useful thing for you to understand. The organizations supporting this bill, even the ones uneasy about the disability rating changes, have specifically said the legislation contains protections intended to prevent reductions for people who are currently receiving benefits. In other words, if the rating changes for tinnitus and sleep apnea do eventually take effect, the concern from advocates isn't about veterans who are already rated and already receiving compensation for those conditions. It's about how future claims filed by veterans down the road would be evaluated under a new standard. That distinction changes the calculation for a lot of people watching this story. If you're a veteran currently receiving compensation for tinnitus or CPAP-related sleep apnea, this proposal, as currently written and discussed by advocacy groups, is not designed to reach back and reduce what you're already getting. If you're a service member who might file a claim years from now, this is the part of the bill that deserves your closest attention, and it's exactly why organizations like DAV have been so vocal in pushing back on it. First, don't make any decisions based on rumors or social media posts claiming benefits are being slashed today. That's not what's happening. Second, if you or a family member has a pending or upcoming disability claim, especially involving tinnitus or sleep apnea, it's worth talking to an accredited Veterans Service Officer now, someone free through organizations like the VFW, American Legion, or DAV, who can walk you through your specific situation and keep you updated as this bill evolves. Third, keep an eye on official sources, not secondhand summaries. VA.gov and Congress.gov both post real updates on this legislation as it moves, and that's a much more reliable read than a viral headline. And finally, if the major Richard Starr Act's concurrent receipt provision could apply to you, meaning you're a retiree with fewer than 20 years of service and a combat-related disability, this is worth watching closely since it could directly affect your monthly income if it becomes law. Congress has been debating a sweeping veterans benefits package that combines dozens of long-stalled bills, including a major win for certain disabled retirees, expanded survivor benefits, and broader VA reforms. But it also includes a controversial provision that would change how future disability ratings are calculated for two common conditions. The bill has not passed. The House pulled it from a final vote by the narrowest of margins, and the Senate is still working through its own version. Nothing about your current benefits has changed because of this legislation, and no cuts have taken effect. The single most important thing to remember is this: current benefits are not at risk from anything in this bill as written, but future claims for certain conditions could be evaluated differently if it eventually passes. So the one action worth taking today is connecting with an accredited Veterans Service Officer if this applies to your situation, so you have someone in your corner tracking the details as they develop. This story isn't over, and I'll be watching it closely right alongside you. You've served, or you've stood behind someone who did, and you deserve clear answers, not confusion. Take care of yourself, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.